The organisation Public Interest SA has welcomed National Treasury's withdrawal of that Eskom exemption. Let's talk more now with the organisation's Tebogo Khaas. A very good evening to you, sir. Grateful for your time. So what do you make of the U-turn? You've welcomed it, but it's not entirely off the table because the Finance Minister was clear that this is basically a for-now decision.
Look, thanks, Tembegile. This is totally unnecessary, and this kind of bumbling doesn't make government look any good. Because you cannot issue a gazette and then 5 days later nix, no, not a few days later, and nix it. The same with the state of energy disaster that has now been nixed. It just doesn't show government in a good light. And to the extent that they even say that it's temporary, for now, they're going to review it. It shows that they were too quick to act without thinking through that which it was that they were trying to sell to the public and to the financial markets as well. Because what they really were saying was just asking by fiat that government should actually conceal whatever wrongdoing or excesses, financial excesses that were happening at Eskom, which is quite unacceptable. And just because the same dispensation or arrangements were made at Transnet doesn't make this one any better. Just because we missed that one a year ago, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't stand and act. And by the way, Eskom is ground zero for corruption and state capture. And that is why the focus is on Eskom. And yes, Transnet too, but Eskom in this moment because of the problem that we have with load shedding and the fact that Eskom is trying to so much undo the effects of load shedding. And it cannot be acceptable at all.
So if there was, or there is in fact, as we're hearing, to be consultation between Treasury and the likes of the Auditor General's office, and they come together and they say they're happy with the outcomes of that consultation, do you think then this exemption, if it is granted again, would be more palatable, especially in the eyes of the public?
Look, we are not against exemptions. Exemptions happen on a daily basis insofar as government procurement or supply chain management is concerned. But it is how it is managed or how it is enacted. Because, yes, they will we are going to make submissions as public interest to the process. What we are saying is that, yes, you can go ahead. We don't oppose the exemption that you want to grant Eskom. But do not want to hide. Transparency is at the heart of our constitutional order. And the minute you start saying you want to conceal certain things that ought to be put out there in the public light, it is not right. And in any event, if you are a lender, already you would have suspected that there's some things that are being hidden if you suddenly don't see any irregularities or wasteful expenditures being reported upon, which makes the whole thing fraudulent. I mean, it borders on fraud because what you're saying is you are hiding something bad that your prospective lender should know about, and you want to make sure that they give you favorable terms just because you've concealed the bad things that are happening to you. That is wrong. If you go to a bank and you conceal the fact that you've got other debt and other people that you owe, and they grant you favorable rates based on the kind of profile you provided, they've got the right to put it back, and or sanction you with punitive interest or whatever penalties they might find applicable. So this is totally wrong, and it doesn't bode well for ethical conduct, especially by government, because what you're saying is that government must lead by example. Why is it that you want to hide wrongdoing? You should be the one shining the light and making sure that citizens live by your example. You should you should use the power of example, not example of your power to decree the laws or to make special dispensation for Eskom and others. That should be something that we should frown upon.
The other defense of the exemption has been that it would not mean a total ban, so to speak, of any reporting of what's going on at Eskom and how monies are being spent, but rather that it would not follow normal, shall we say, circumstances. But I have to wonder what difference it makes when this is being reported, because SOEs in this country were looted even with the normal reporting measures in place.
Look, even if they're going to report it in a different piece of document, because now they're telling us it's not going to be in AFS, it's going to be on this and that. At the end of the day, it is going to come out. The funders will get to know about it. So what was the point of you first trying to shift it from one set of documents in terms of your financial statements and then hide it or put it in another. It just doesn't make any sense. Just put it out there. What is more key, or what Eskom ought to be focusing on, which will hopefully then allay any fears or concerns that lenders might have, is to publish a blueprint on what they're doing to fight corruption. You know, we want to know what that they're doing to mitigate that 1 billion per month that Andre Director alleges is being siphoned or pilfered from Eskom monthly. That's what the funders are interested in. If they're able to come back and say, public and you funders, no, this is what we are doing in addressing these kind of things. I think that is what they should be focusing on, and the message that they ought to be propagating out there, not a message of saying we're going to pass laws that will hide blind the light from shining on wrongdoing.
Just lastly, what does today's U-turn by Treasury say about the power of South Africans and civil society in putting pressure on government, as has now happened, and even seeing a change of a decision, even if it's temporary, as we're now told?
Yes, what it shows that civil society must continue holding those entrusted with the exercise of public power to account. And it is a very encouraging situation when we saw almost all, without fail, all civil society organizations that I know of or interact with come out in one voice and say, not on our watch. We may have missed it with Transnet, but this time around, we are going to put our foot down and say no. And it also, at the same time, we are also thankful. You know, we cannot just ignore the fact that we must also appreciate and be grateful that government has listened and responded in a manner that they did by pulling it back, pending obviously consultations and review on how this thing should be put together. And in all this we are doing, it's all in the interest of the public. And just because we didn't get Transnet, in fact, that gives us now even opportune time for us to relook at the Transnet exemption and see if that also shouldn't be revoked. Because if government can revoke this Eskom one, why is it that they're leaving the Transnet one in place without subjecting it to the kind of scrutiny and input that they now seek to do with Eskom?
Tebogo Khaas from Public Interest South Africa, good to speak to you.